Welcome to the seventh and final Gamer of Destiny Slim Bits installment. A lot of stuff that I want to cover in this, particularly because I'm not going to get another chance to talk about Gamer of Destiny in this series. So I'm probably going to have to do that here. Funnily enough, there's a lot of stuff that came to mind when I was making this installment, like 11th hour eureka moments that I threw in there as I was animating that weren't even in the original script. Because, as I think I mentioned before, I had originally written a full feature-length script for Gamer of Destiny, and then to manage my production schedule, I segmented it into the 7 episodes that we've been covering throughout the series. What that afforded me to do was, as new ideas came to mind, and as I noticed like plot holes and stuff on the horizon, I was able to counteract that and develop something to address those issues. And, this was like sort of my last chance to get in all my ideas and all my story revisions. So we open things up here with Rob and Killscreen having their climactic battle at the very top of the Slay Station. One thing that sort of struck me as I was getting down to the wire on Gamer of Destiny was, even though I had sort of explained that in the world of Gamer of Destiny, Mia had summoned someone to fight a war for her. That person died, and Killscreen, as he explains now, heard about a prophecy where a hero of Destiny would come to Pennsylvania and try to stop him. Killscreen decided that he was going to use that same prophecy to his own advantage, summon someone here, he would recruit him into his army, and therefore there would be no one left to oppose him. So that is all kind of glazed over in this little backstory sequence here, and that explains how Rob and Gilbert came to this world. But it never really addresses why both those guys came. I mean, by all accounts, the spell should only work for one of those guys, and we kind of get into that later. But as I was working this sequence out, I realized, there really is no reason why Rob should have come along when Gilbert was summoned here. So that was thankfully one thing that I caught just in time and knew that I could address. All right, so this big battle, I really like it because up until this point we don't really know a heck of a lot about Killscreen other than that he's like sort of the main bad guy. But he's just this frail, old-sounding, old-looking kind of guy. How's he going to be much of a threat? Well, then we realize he's decked out with all this future tech. He has access to so much high-tech weaponry that he completely overwhelms Rob. For example, these laser fists, which are based on the Master Hand and Crazy Hand bosses from the Smash Brothers series. And this little energy ball attack that he unleashes on Rob. Longtime fans of the Legend of Zelda games will know that that's Phantom Ganon's signature move that Link has to bat back and forth to him in sort of this volleyball match. And if your timing's not perfect, then you get hurt. Oh, and Killscreen performs a raging demon attack on Rob. And as we see coming up now, Gilbert will join the fray and come to back Killscreen up. All this was just to show that Rob is completely overwhelmed. This is not the kind of battle that he expected it was going to be. And like all those like the Phantom Ganon energy ball, that was all just to show to like the gamers in the audience that, hey, remember how tough those battles were? Well, Killscreen has all those abilities. What is Rob going to do? Okay, so this sequence where Rob has a bit of an out-of-body experience and encounters Daigo, this wasn't originally in the script. This was something that came to me during the making of this installment. I kind of hit a wall. Like I knew I wanted the battle between Rob and I knew I wanted Rob to really be challenged in this fight and to not be easy for him. And then he would get like his second wind, and he would come back to kick his ass in the second round, as it were. But I didn't want him to just like get up again, dust himself off, and try again with like more determination in his eyes. He needed like a bit of a pep talk, and one that kind of played back into the insecurities that we had hinted at the beginning of the movie and like it's seen throughout the story. But I didn't want to use I didn't want to bring back any of the characters who died like any of the characters he met in the adventure. I didn't want to bring him back in like a Star Wars spectral form with like a use the Force kind of message. And I didn't want to reuse Mia because, last we saw she was unconscious, and I wanted to save their reunion for something else later on in this installment. So really, the only character who was left that would make sense was Daigo. And in hindsight, it was so obvious. I mean, throughout this whole movie, he's been hinted at, and Rob's been like just in his shadow. And like Daigo's biggest contribution to the story was dying before the movie began. But I figured, like, no, let's hear from him. Let's hear from the guy and have him say to Rob that, no, you are my worthy successor. Just had a thought that, you know what, the guy who was pegged as being the big hero, and Cook If I Make It, he's going to show, like, he has respect for Rob. And all that plays into Rob's sort of insecurity about his gaming. Like Rob's main thing is that he's good at video games, but he doesn't think that's going to garner him much respect. Whereas like he comes to Pennsylvania, and his abilities at gaming just excels him into the status of being a savior of the people. But even that proves to be not enough. So just when he's starting to doubt himself again, Daigo comes back and says, no. You should be proud of how good you are at games. Look how far it got you. Look at what you can do. Look at what you've done. And so when I decided that was going to be like his big call to arms moment, or not call to arms, but his big emboldening moment, I decided, okay, well, there's only one way to write this, and that's to play it straight, but make the context of it as cheesy, ridiculous as possible, but like do it with absolute sincerity. Not a hint of irony, total conviction. No one's going to care because the fate of the world is on the line. Rob absolutely believes in these things, and it gives him the inner strength he needs to come back and kick Killscreen and Gilbert's ass, which we see in a very rapid-fire action sequence coming up here, which was a real bear to animate. But like conceptually, I think it's awesome. If you were to take like everything that you've learned from a video game and apply it to yourself and use it in a combative sense, like you would be a pretty formidable force. So during the sequence, we see a bunch of like logos flash on screen as Rob gears up for his next attack. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but each of those icons and logos is based, or it's the coat of arms, as it were, for each of the factions that Rob has encountered in this movie. And those were kind of fun designs to come up with, and yeah, it was. It would be awesome if I could just like make little tapestries of those things, or little pins or something to sell at conventions. If this movie caught on. Oh, there they go, sailing over the edge. Oh, the flashing red. I just figured out to do that. I figured out how to do that during the production of this installment, but I really should have thought of it for the earlier sequence when Mia was clinging to life, because it is such a good tell for anyone who's ever played a video game that these characters are on their last legs. The flashing red goes well with Killscreen's visor there. Oh man, I wish that I had the foresight to have. If I had held off on Killscreen's design a little bit longer, he totally would have had like a VR headset, because Killscreen's whole gimmick is he's equipped with future tech. Which in this world is gaming accessories like the like a Wii balance board, or the Power Gloves, or the PlayStation Move, or a VR headset like an Oculus Rift. Because like the people of Pennsylvania, they're all based on the retro style, like traditional controller with a cord and TV screen video games, and Killscreen represents the scary, uncertain future, high tech kind of stuff. Okay, so now we see that giant The Sims diamond crashed into the land of Pennsylvania, coats the world in extra life, heals Cliff of his wounds, and reverts Gilbert back to normal. So it's off for Rob and his Mario Brothers 3 outfit there. That's one of my favorite visual gags, by the way. Rob with the raccoon tail. Oh, the Mass Effect relay there. So during the production of Gamer of Destiny, my friend loaned me the Mass Effect trilogy, which I had never played before. And I love those games. Like, I think I played through them all, like, over the course of, like, just a couple of months, and I loved it. And I wanted to include some references to Mass Effect in Gamer of Destiny. So that's why, like, it's sort of like the 11th hour of the... That's not the 11th. So that's why, like, near the end of the movie, you'll see stuff like, Killscreen using a multi-tool. That's why you saw the Mass Effect relay. That's why later on we'll see, like, like a Reaper noise and, like, a Reaper-looking creature. Yeah. But, like, yeah, I wanted to make sure to sneak in a few of those references under the door there. I like the effect of the burning and destroyed slave station floating in the background there. All I really did was just lower the opacity for it, but I think it's a really cool effect, especially against that early morning sunrise kind of sky I made. And oh yeah, Rob is reunited with Mia. They made amends, and I like their story. They're just two young people who found each other. I think it's a nice feel-good love story there. Young love. Okay, so now we see the people of Placeovania working together to rebuild their countryside, or rebuild their homes, or what have you. It just kind of dawned on me that this is the first time that we're seeing like the fields of Placeovania without that Darwinia style checker pattern. Yeah, Darwinia. Yeah, like I went pretty hardcore with these references. Yeah, and Gilbert decides that he's going to head back to the real world. There's nothing for him left in Placeovania. And we see Jade. She gets promoted to the leader of the adventure faction. That's what the sort of nameplate is meant to signify. Like every character who gets a nameplate is the leader of a faction in Placeovania. And that's sort of my little quick way to tell you a brief little bit about them, and also to introduce them into a scene without saying their names. Okay, so now we get into the multiple ending aspect of Gamer of Destiny. This was always my intention. It was always like in the original script. Because I was uploading this thing to YouTube, I wanted to have optional endings. Click here to view the ending where Rob stays in Placeovania. Click here to see the ending where Rob goes home. And, I'm going to do a running commentary on both of them, but as we'll see in this version, like the original YouTube version, he has to pause and think, and he has the two options, the Paragon and Renegade. That's not to say that there is a good ending and a bad ending, but certainly one ending opens it up for a potential sequel, and the other one closes the door definitively on this story. So, like, first off, we have the Rob Stays ending, which is the ending that sort of sets itself up for potential sequels. It's like this chapter is done, but the adventures of Rob and friends will continue. Oh, save the world, got the girl. Yeah, it's not. I kind of went with like a Disney movie happy ending kind of look to it, and I think it's okay in the fact that Rob and Mia clearly like each other, and in the potential sequel, maybe they'll realize that they don't have a whole lot in common, and there'll be some tests to their young relationship. Oh, but these would definitely be the big bad guys for the sequel. So, you'll notice that the giant ships that fly down, they are meant to resemble the turrets from Portal, and those robot foot soldiers are modeled after the classes in TF2. I decided I wanted robotic versions of those guys before the Man vs. Machine, the Greys version of TF2 came out. You get away with more when you get to kill robots. And the main bad guy looks like Gabe Newell, and he is dressed like Gordon Freeman, and he's standing on a Half-Life crate, and he's got a crowbar. All this is meant to tell you that these are properties from Valve, meant to invoke Steam. What it's meant to show you is that in the sequel, it's going to be Rob's army, which is all based on console games, versus Error, like the leader of the PC game army. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the never-ending struggle between console versus PC, and that's where the bulk of the humor and references would come to. will a sequel to Gamer of Destiny ever get made? Like, I don't know. This was a massive undertaking. Like, I would love to write it. Like, I'm knocking around story ideas all the time, but animating it just took so much out of me and took such a long time. I'm very happy that I managed to do it, but oh man, doing it again, woof. This credit sequence. This was kind of a bitch to put together, because I had to find footage that sort of like overlapped a lot of genres in games, like and recognizable games too. But like a lot of the stuff that I found was either watermarked or like in a really bad aspect ratio. So that's why a lot of the games covered in this little games covered in this little credit sequence, they are fairly modern games, because those are the best looking ones that I could find on YouTube. You know, I wish I could do like more 16-bit, like legit 16 and 18-bit stuff, 16 and 8-bit stuff, but yeah, it just wasn't in the cards. Oh, so this little this little thing here. So yeah, so Gilbert returns home. And what's this? Oh no. It's all the people who died throughout the movie. But that means if people die in Pennsylvania, they show up in our world. What? Is that something else that we could explore in a potential sequel? I don't know. There would have to be a potential. There would have to be a sequel. But yeah, like there's no shortage of like story opportunities to go with that. Anyways, I'm going to fire up the alternate ending, the one where Rob goes home. So yeah, this is the ending where Rob goes home. And right off the bat, you'll notice that Rob has a little callback to a line that he said at the beginning of the movie. And the same thing happens in the other ending, except with a different inflection. Like that one was like more of a upbeat and you know, the story's not over yet kind of vibe, whereas this one is like sort of more melancholy. We don't know what to expect. But I enjoy when movies have a callback to like a line, or end with a line that was like said earlier in the movie. I don't know, it's pleasing to the ear. Moogle. Ugh, there's so many references to video games and Gamer Destiny. I should do a compilation video of all the references, you know, if I had that kind of free time. So anyways, Rob decides that he's gone on a huge adventure, and you know, now he's about ready to go on another adventure. That's where that's how he grew in this in the real world. Oh, Jameson, you rogue. Yeah, there's me again, just tangibly reminding you that this all takes place in the UptownSlimJim universe. Okay, so Rob decides to embark on another adventure, not entirely sure where it's going to take him. He is without his powers. All he really has is his memories and his and the lessons he learned from it. But as we see right away, he's made himself a new friend, who is practically the spitting image of Mia, as if the monochromatic eyes weren't just a dead giveaway. But like we can kind of tell right off the bat that she has a little bit more in common with Rob. You know, like in addition to being a gamer, she's also kind of sassy, and you know, she's like very welcoming and open to him, and not afraid to brag about her skills. Yeah, so Zelda there, she is meant to invoke that, you know, don't worry about Rob's lost love with Mia. You know, 'tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And you know, he's found someone else who he likes just as much. And who knows what'll happen between them. But this ending was meant to show that, well, the other ending where Rob stays is meant to open the door for potential sequels, should they ever come. As is, like as of 2017, this ending, the ending where Rob goes home, is the definitive ending to Gamer of Destiny. Like the story's over, Rob goes back to the real world and decides to just travel to make something else of his life outside of games, but still like holding on to that part of him, because he no longer feels ashamed by it. In fact, he feels emboldened by it. Oh, and the special thanks. Yeah, I'm very happy that I threw that there. I think it covers a pretty broad spectrum. Like that, I have to have a little shout out to the people who were nice enough to write the music that I blatantly stole for this movie. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to this Gamer of Destiny Slimbit series. This movie was an incredible labor of love. I knew no one else was going to make this idea for me, and I'll be the first to admit that like it's not as good looking as like what a professionally animated movie. There's still a lot of like story issues that exist in it. I think I managed to like fix it up here and there as best I could, but I don't necessarily care how the finished product looks. The fact that it is a finished product of something that I set out to do way back in like 2012, like if that, like it's I like to think that it's a testament to stick-to-itiveness and having a clear plan and sticking to it. If you believe enough in an idea and you are determined to see it through, you can definitely see it through. Don't give up on your creative endeavors. That's sort of the life lesson I took away from Gamer of Destiny, and it's hopefully something that you've picked up on through these Slim Bits videos. Anyways, thank you so much for listening into the series. I'm sure you mainly just been listening to it, to try to put yourself to sleep. But as we've heard, I have a lot to say about these movies, and who knows, maybe you can learn something from them. Anyways, thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for my next videos, whenever those are. Bye.